Most people explain themselves when they feel misunderstood. They rush to defend, justify, and prove. Muhammad Ali did the opposite. When the noise got louder, he got quieter. When rumors spread, he stayed focused. And while others argued for approval, Ali let silence do the work. Most people explain themselves because they're afraid of being misunderstood. They rush to add context, defend intentions, and soften edges. Explanation feels like safety. It feels like control. But for Muhammad Ali, explanation was never protection. It was a distraction. Muhammad Ali understood something early that most people learn too late. The moment you explain yourself, you hand your power to the listener. You invite them to judge not just your actions but your reasons. You turn your certainty into a debate. Ali had no interest in debates about who he was. He had already decided. Explanation assumes the other person has authority over your truth. Ali rejected that assumption completely. He didn't believe clarity came from convincing others. He believed clarity came from alignment within. When alignment is strong, words become unnecessary. Silence feels natural instead of risky. Ali also knew that explanations rarely end where you want them to. One explanation leads to another, then another. Soon you're trapped in a loop of defending choices that never needed defense. He watched others fall into that trap. He chose not to follow. There was also something deeper at play. Ali understood that people don't change their minds because of explanations. They change their minds because of outcomes. Arguments create resistance. Results create acceptance. Ali trusted results. To him, explaining felt like shrinking, like lowering his standard to meet someone else's comfort. He didn't need to translate his vision into language everyone liked. His job wasn't set to be palatable. His job was to be prepared. Preparation spoke louder than justification ever could. Explanation also slows momentum. It pulls attention backward instead of forward. Ali was always moving forward, toward the next fight, the next training session, the next standard he set for himself. Looking back to explain felt like wasted motion. He noticed that confident people are often punished for explaining. Their words get twisted. Their tone gets analyzed. Their intentions get questioned. Silence avoids all of that. Silence gives nothing to distort. Ali wasn't set trying to appear mysterious. He simply didn't feel obligated to narrate his life. He believed his work deserved privacy. Privacy sharpened focus. Focus sharpened skill. Skill decided outcomes. There's also a kind of dignity in not explaining. It says, I trust myself enough to let time speak. Ali trusted time. Time doesn't misquote. Time doesn't exaggerate. Time reveals patterns honestly. People mistook his lack of explanation for arrogance, but it was discipline. The discipline to stay centered while the world pulls outward. The discipline to resist emotional reactions. The discipline to let silence do heavy lifting. That discipline kept him dangerous. Ali never needed everyone to understand him. He only needed to understand himself. That self-knowledge removed urgency. Urgency feeds mistakes. Calm feeds precision. Precision wins fights. Explanation was never his language because action already spoke fluently. Every training session was a sentence. Every fight was a paragraph. Every victory was punctuation. By the time people asked for explanations, the story had already been written. Confidence for most people is something borrowed. It depends on approval, applause, or reassurance. When that approval disappears, so does the confidence. Muhammad Ali Sip's confidence worked differently. It was internal, not negotiated. And that made people uncomfortable. Muhammad Ali never waited to be chosen. He chose himself first. That single decision separated him from everyone else. While others looked outward for validation, Ali looked inward for alignment. Alignment gave him stability long before results arrived. He understood that permission is a subtle form of control. When you wait for it, you accept someone else's authority over your belief. Ali refused that arrangement. He didn't ask the world if he was great. He told the world who he was becoming. Then he went to work making it true. This kind of confidence unsettles people. It removes leverage. You can threaten someone who already believes. You can shame someone who is self-defined. Ali Sip's certainty made critics feel powerless. Powerlessness often disguises itself as judgment. Many mistook his confidence for arrogance, but arrogance avoids effort. Confidence embraces it. Ali trained harder because he believed more deeply. Belief raised his standards instead of lowering them. That distinction was missed by most observers. Ali also knew that confidence expressed early invites resistance. People are comfortable with belief after success, not before. They want proof first, then permission to believe. Ali reversed the order deliberately. Belief came first. Proof was something he planned to deliver later. He didn't soften his confidence to make others comfortable. Comfort was never his goal. Growth rarely feels comfortable to those watching from the sidelines. Ali accepted the friction that confidence creates. Friction sharpens commitment. Smooth paths weaken it. There was also a strategic element to his certainty. Confidence simplified his inner world. Doubt creates internal noise. Noise fractures focus. Ali removed doubt early so focus could deepen. Deep focus wins fights long before the bell rings. When criticism came, his confidence didn't collapse. It didn't set spike either. It stayed level. That steadiness confused people who expected reaction. Reaction would have confirmed their influence. Steadiness denied it. Ali Set's belief wasn't set performative. It wasn't dead for cameras or crowds. It existed even when no one was listening. That sips is why he didn't set need to explain it. Explaining would have cheapened something personal. He protected it instead. Confidence also allowed him to move alone. Loneliness didn't scare him. Walking ahead of consensus rarely comes with company. Ali understood that isolation is often a sign of direction. If everyone agrees with you, you start probably not leading. He knew confidence would attract pressure. Pressure tests conviction. Conviction either breaks or hardens. Ali welcomed that test. Every challenge strengthened his certainty. Certainty strengthened his discipline. In the end, his confidence didn't convince people with words. It convinced them with endurance, with consistency, with outcomes that aligned perfectly with belief. By the time people understood his confidence, it was already history. Ali never explained himself because confidence doesn't need explanation. It needs integrity. Integrity between belief and action. He maintained that integrity relentlessly, and that sits why his confidence survived long after the noise faded. Muhammad Ali understood that silence is not emptiness. Silence is space. Space to think clearly. Space to prepare without interference. Most people fear silence because it leaves them alone with doubt. Ali used silence to remove doubt entirely. Muhammad Ali knew that every explanation costs energy. Every defense pulls attention away from what actually matters. Words scatter focus. Focus is fragile when divided. Ali protected his focus the way others protect their reputation. Because focus wins fights, not opinions. When rumors started, people expected reaction. They waited for statements, clarifications, emotional responses. Reaction would have fed the noise. Noise thrives on acknowledgement. A lie refused to give it oxygen. Starved noise always fades. Silence also denied others control. The moment you respond, you enter someone else's frame. You argue on their terms. Ali stayed on his own terms. He didn't chase narratives. He stayed inside his routine. His training never adjusted to public pressure. Schedules stayed the same. Standards stayed high. Discipline didn't bend to distraction. That consistency was intentional. Consistency exposes what separates real. Ali knew that explaining invites endless follow-ups. One answer leads to another question. Then another. Soon your entire mental space is occupied by defense. Defense weakens execution. Ali had no interest in weakening himself. Silence kept his mind clean. No emotional spikes. No reactive decisions. No wasted attention. Calm sharpens precision. Precision separates champions from contenders. People mistook his quiet for indifference. It wasn't set indifference. It was restraint. Restraint is a discipline few master. It requires confidence, patience, and clarity. Ali had all three. There was also trust in silence. Trust that truth doesn't need escorting. Trust that time corrects distortion. Trust that results speak louder than rebuttals. Ali trusted that process deeply. That trust freed him from urgency. Silence allowed him to hear what mattered. His breathing, his footwork, his timing, these details decide outcomes. Arguments do not. While others spent energy reacting, Ali invested energy refining. refining movements, refining rhythm, refining mindset. That investment compounded quietly. Silence also made him unpredictable. Opponents couldn't sit-read him. Critics couldn't set-provoke him. Noise bounced off without effect. Unreachable focus is dangerous. Ali was unreachable by design. He had seen too many talented people lose themselves in explanation. They tried to be understood by everyone. They ended up deluded. Ali chose concentration over comprehension. Being understood was optional. Being prepared was not. Silence kept his identity intact. He didn't allow others to define him mid-process. Definitions lock you in place. Ali stayed fluid. Fluid fighters adapt faster. Adaptation wins wars inside the ring. In the end, silence wasn't avoidance. It was strategy. A deliberate refusal to waste energy. A commitment to inner order. Ali didn't ignore the noise because he was weak. He ignored it because he was focused. And while the world talked itself in circles, Ali sharpened himself in straight lines. Straight lines reach destinations faster. By the time explanations were demanded, the results had already arrived. Ali trusted time more than talk. He knew arguments fade the moment a new one appears. But time keeps a record. It watches patterns repeat. It notices what doesn't change under pressure. Time doesn't take sides. It takes notes. Muhammad Ali understood that explanations age poorly. They sound reasonable today and irrelevant tomorrow. Results, on the other hand, compound. They stack quietly until denial becomes impossible. Ali invested in what compounds. He let time do the explaining. While critics debated, nothing about his routine shifted. Same hours, same intensity, same discipline. Consistency became the evidence no speech could match. When behavior stays aligned, truth gets louder. Time exposed exaggeration naturally. Details that once felt convincing stopped lining up. Certainty softened into doubt. Doubt turned into reconsideration. Not because Ali argued back, but because reality refused to cooperate with the story. People eventually noticed the absence of escalation. No new proof appeared. No confirmation followed. The narrative stalled. Stalled stories lose energy. Energy loss is fatal to rumors. Ali Sip's calm aged better than criticism. Criticism relies on momentum. Momentum dies without fuel. Ali gave it none. Silence removed friction. Without friction, nothing burned. Time also revealed something uncomfortable. The judgment had been rushed. The confidence misread. The silence misunderstood. That realization didn't arrive loudly. It arrived privately. Person by person. Some people never admitted they were wrong. They simply moved on. That's how correction usually happens. Quietly, without apology. Time doesn't demand confession. It corrects anyway. Ali never waited around for that correction. Waiting would have wasted momentum. He stayed forward-facing, focused on the next preparation, the next standard, the next performance. Over time, the questions changed. Not was he wrong, but how did he stay so steady? The shift mattered. It marked respect replacing suspicion. Respect follows results, not explanations. Time also revealed the cost of over-explaining. Those who defended themselves constantly lost focus and direction. Ali didn't. His energy stayed intact. Integrity preserved momentum. What looked like stubborn silence at first started to look like wisdom. Wisdom doesn't rush to be heard. It waits to be undeniable. Ali was patient enough for that. Wait. Patience multiplied his advantage. In the end, time closed the argument without words. No press conference. No victory lap. Just alignment proving itself repeatedly. Alignment is hard to argue with. Time sides with it every time. Ali Sip's choice not to explain himself wasn't about pride. It was about trust. Trust in work. Trust in consistency. Trust that time reveals what noise hides. When the dust settled, one thing was clear. Words hadn't changed anything. Consistency had, and consistency had been there all along. In the end, Ali didn't win the argument. He outgrew it. Arguments keep you tied to the moment they were born in. Growth moves you past the moment entirely. Ali chose growth, and growth has a way of ending debates without speaking. Muhammad Ali left behind a lesson that reaches far beyond boxing. You don't owe explanations to people who aren't aligned with your purpose. You don't set need to justify clarity to confusion, and you don't need to argue your way into respect. Respect arrives when consistency becomes undeniable. Until then, silence is strength. He showed that explanation often comes from fear. Fear of being misunderstood. Fear of losing control of the story. Fear of judgment. Ali refused to let fear right his behavior. He let discipline do that instead. By not explaining himself, he protected something rare. His inner order, his rhythm, his momentum. Once momentum is broken, it sets hard to rebuild. Ali guarded it relentlessly. He understood that most people don't actually want explanations. They want reassurance. They want you to shrink uncertainty for them. Ali didn't sit shrink. He expanded his standards. That expansion forced others to adjust. Ali Sip's silence wasn't set passive. It was intentional. A refusal to let distraction dictate direction. A decision to let results speak in full sentences. By the time people wanted explanations, the evidence had already answered. What he left behind was not a tactic. It was a posture. Stand firm. Move forward. Let time do the correcting. And never trade focus for approval. The world still rewards noise. It still pressures people to explain, defend, and justify. List's example reminds us that you can opt out. You can choose alignment over argument, preparation over persuasion, consistency over commentary. That's why his legacy feels so solid. It wasn't a set built on speeches. It was built on standards. Standards repeated daily. Standards protected by silence. Standards proven by outcomes. Ali never explained himself because he understood the final truth. Those who need explanations won't be satisfied by them. Those who matter will understand eventually. And those who don't understand were never the audience he was fighting for. He let the world talk. He let time work. And he let history decide. Muhammad Ali understood a truth that most people learn the hard way. Authority is not built by convincing others. It's built by being unmoved by their uncertainty. The moment you start explaining yourself, you quietly accept that someone else has the right to judge your reasons. Ali never made that concession. Muhammad Ali saw explanation as a transfer of power. When you explain, you step down from decision-maker and step into the role of defendant. You begin responding instead of leading. Your certainty becomes negotiable. Authority dissolves the moment it needs permission. He noticed how quickly explanation turns into negotiation. One reason invites another question. One clarification invites doubt. Soon your direction is no longer firm. It bends under other people's comfort. Ali refused to let his direction bend. Authority depends on consistency. Consistency depends on inner alignment. Explanation interrupts both. It pulls attention outward instead of inward. Ali stayed inwardly aligned. That alignment made his presence solid. He watched others lose authority by over-explaining. Their words multiplied. Their posture softened. Their certainty thinned under scrutiny. The more they talked, the less convincing they became. Ali learned from their mistake without repeating it. True authority doesn't argue its position. It demonstrates it through repetition. Ali let repetition do the work. Training every day, showing up unchanged, letting behavior speak without commentary. Explanation also exposes vulnerability too early. Before results arrive, words are fragile. They can be twisted, clipped, reframed. Ali protected his vision from distortion. Silence kept it intact until it was undeniable. There's also a psychological edge in not explaining. People sense firmness without friction. They feel certainty without being challenged directly. That quiet firmness commands respect over time. Loud justification rarely does. Ali trusted that long arc. Authority grows when people adjust themselves around you, not when you adjust yourself around them. Ali stayed where he was. Others were forced to recalibrate. That recalibration is the mark of real authority. It happens without announcement. He understood that explanation satisfies the moment, but weakens the future. Authority is a long game. Ali always played the long game. He accepted temporary misunderstanding to preserve permanent direction. In the end, Ali didn't weaken authority by staying silent. He concentrated it. Every unspoken explanation became pressure stored, pressure released later as results. When the results arrived, no explanation was needed. That is why his authority felt effortless. It wasn't set defended. It wasn't set argued. It was lived. An authority that is lived doesn't need a voice to be felt. Most people crave being heard immediately. They equate attention with validation. If someone listens, they feel secure. If someone doesn't sit, they feel threatened. So they rush to speak, explain, and clarify. Ali understood that this urgency weakens truth. Muhammad Ali knew that being heard is a short-term reward. It feels good in the moment. It calms anxiety. It creates the illusion of control, but it does nothing to guarantee correctness. Noise can be loud and still be wrong. Being right operates on a different timeline. It doesn't demand immediate recognition. It doesn't panic when misunderstood. It allows space for reality to unfold. Ali chose that longer timeline deliberately. He was willing to lose the moment to win the outcome. He understood that explanations satisfy emotions, not facts. They calm the speaker more than the listener. They create temporary relief. But relief fades quickly. Then another explanation is required. Ali refused to live in that cycle. When you chase being heard, you adjust your message to the crowd. You soften edges. You dilute certainty. You trade precision for approval. Ali never made that trade. He accepted that silence would cost him comfort. People would misunderstand. Some would doubt his intelligence. Others would question his intentions. Ali saw those costs as temporary. Diluted focus would have been permanent damage. There is also risk in being heard too early. Words spoken before outcomes arrive become targets for interpretation. They are quoted out of context. They are used to frame you prematurely. Ali avoided being framed before he finished building. Ali wasn't afraid of being ignored. He was afraid of being distracted. Distraction pulls attention away from preparation. Preparation determines reality. Reality silences debate. That sequence mattered to him. He let misunderstanding exist because it was incomplete information. Incomplete information corrects itself with time. But premature explanations freeze narratives too early. Once frozen, narratives are hard to change. Ali allowed the story to stay unfinished. An unfinished story remains flexible. When people finally listened to Ali, it wasn't set because he explained better. It was because evidence had accumulated. Evidence doesn't argue. It asserts quietly. Ali trusted that accumulation. Being heard gives you a moment. Being right gives you permanence. Ali chose permanence. He didn't need the world to listen immediately. He needed the world to remember accurately. That choice defined his legacy. In the end, Ali taught something rare. You don't need to win every conversation. You need to win alignment between belief and action. Conversations fade. Alignment compounds. And compounded truth always speaks louder than words.